so much. I'm so excited to be here and tell you guys a little bit about my story. So I will get right into kind of how I got the idea or decided to start a makeup company. This is my mom sitting up here. She's part of the story. But so when I was in 5th grade, we had to do a science project, and I have 8 brothers and sisters, so we don't get a lot of help on our science projects in my life. So I was doing it on my own, and the teacher said we could do an invention or a science project, or a science project was an invention. And I thought that just sounded like a whole lot more up my alley. So I kept trying to think of things that hadn't been invented yet, and we didn't really have Google, so I couldn't just Google things. So I would come up with ideas like a light that would affix to your head so that you could read at night without bothering anyone. And I told my mom about it, and she's like, yeah, that's already been made. And kind of went through the rigmarole of finding a bunch of things that had already been made. And I wasn't really into makeup. I was kind of a tomboy. My sister was really into makeup, so I did think it was cool. But I did notice that day when I was kind of trying to look for inventions that my friend's mom was complaining about her makeup, that she didn't know how to use it and that it was really hard. And I just thought, seems like ladies are, like moms are complaining about makeup a lot, but they all have it and some of them wear it, some of them don't seem to wear it. So why is that so hard? And why does it seem so overwhelming to all these ladies? So I was like, somebody hasn't done it right. So I decided to make an invention where I created a clay mask that you form-fitted to your face so that at night you could put all the makeup on the mask, and then in the morning you could sleep in and just pop it on your face. You're good to go. You look great. It was easy. I figured like the big thing standing in everyone's way was the lack of being able to sleep in. And it didn't really work, but after that I still got an A, so that was nice. After that, I just felt like this is what I got to do. This is what I want, is to make a makeup line. And of course, you got to get into the nitty-gritties of how to do that. So I decided that I need to focus all my time on what I was going to name it and the colors that I was going to use. So my name is Cara, C-A-R-A. And I had to go to the library because, again, we didn't have Google, but I wanted to find, I was like, the makeup companies in town were like Estee Lauder, Clinique, words that I didn't think were English words. So I was like, oh, it needs to be from another language and a word. And so I went and I was like, it needs to be face in another language. And I looked up the French word for face, and I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't really striking me as great. And then I looked up the Spanish word for face, which is cara, which is spelled C-A-R-A. And I was like, this is meant to be. This has to happen. This is going down. So then I really always wanted to have a makeup line. Everyone that I went to high school with knew that that's what I wanted to do. I was really loud and proud about it, but I didn't actually ever do anything much with it. I did makeup on everyone, and I was obsessed with it. But it's really hard to just know how to start a makeup line. I tried Googling it because Google was around by then, and nothing really happened. I didn't have any rich uncles. I didn't have anyone that was like trying to hand me a platter of money. And so I was like, I didn't really know how to do this. But I finally, when I got pregnant with my son, I finally felt like I just need to go for it and just try to put one foot in front of the other and just do whatever I can do. I was really broke, so I couldn't do anything that cost any money. But I decided to start a blog. And it sounds really crazy now, but back then I honestly thought starting a beauty blog was the most novel idea. And I was like, it's like a beauty magazine, but on a blog. And I thought that was just gonna be like a huge hit. And I'm so glad that I didn't know that there were already hundreds, probably thousands of beauty blogs, that people that had the idea way quicker than I did. Because I probably wouldn't have done it, because I would have been overwhelmed by the amount of competition I already had. But because I didn't know, I just started a beauty blog, and I felt like if I could just do this blog, then maybe someone will give me a chance to, I can show that I know what I'm talking about. And by then I'd had the idea of the makeup that I wanted to create, which for a lot of you guys, you may not know much about how makeup works, but the girls will understand. Basically with makeup, girls put a layer of foundation on their face, and then that makes them kind of look like one-dimensional and flat. So then they have to go back through and put more colors back on, because your face isn't one color. And I just felt like we were kind of doing it backwards. Like there was a much easier way to do it. And if we did it in the right order, we could have less makeup on our face, use less products, and get more out of it in the end. So that was my idea. I called it 3D foundation. And what I found that was so cool is once I started the blog and I just kept going at it, it was about a year before anything really happened. I had followers and I had people that would email, and I felt really excited about it, but I wasn't making any money. And it was hard as a single mom to continue to put so much effort into something that I wasn't getting much out of. But I just really, really believed that it could happen. So I kept going for it. And I really think that the success happened right when I was like this close to just giving up. I honestly remember I was talking to my sister and I just said, you know, I did this blog thing. It was cool. It was fun. I don't know if it got me where I needed to go, but maybe I should try another track. And my boyfriend at the time really thought this Victoria's Secret model's hair was really pretty. And so I did a tutorial for that hair, and then it went viral. And I went from having like 10,000 a month views, which I thought was pretty great, to 3 million views a month. And it was really exciting. I was able to, you know, sell out Amazon, sell out Sephora on certain products. And so I started to get the feeling that I had some pull and that people would buy what I told them to buy. And part of the reason that I had that is because even when I was super, super broke and was pulling in $300 a month with the blog and living in my parents' garage, which was carpeted, so it wasn't like a terrible garage to live in, I knew I didn't want to do sponsored posts. And I'm not degrading sponsored posts, because I think they're really cool and people have done them for me since, and I'm really glad that they did. Just I knew that that wasn't the path that I wanted to be on, and I basically saw it as all these followers, I'm just doing them favor after favor, teaching them thing after thing after thing, and all I want is one favor, is for them to buy my makeup when it comes out. That's the one favor, and I'm never gonna ask for another favor until that favor, because I don't want to use up any of my favors on them. I just need that one favor. And I'm willing to put in all kinds of work just so that they feel like they are willing to give me that one thing. So I wasn't willing to take any favors from them along the way. And so during that time, I had met, they call it kind of a turnkey manufacturer that could help me get the product that I wanted. So I was saving all of my money, and as the blog grew, I started making more money just off the traffic and the ads and the affiliate links. And I was married by then. We had raised about $30,000, which was just, it's a ton of money. And then my parents had raised about $30,000, which was everything they had. I think it was like second mortgage. So they were willing to bet on me, thank you. And so we were like, we hadn't really talked exacts with the company that we'd been working with for a year, but I was like, we're probably around where we need to be. And they come back, she sends me an email and she's like, okay, we got everything ready. We can put in the order. It's $180,000. So you just send me that check in 2 weeks and we're good to go. And I was like, oh crap. I'd already told my followers. I'd already told everyone we're doing this. I'd showed people the makeup. And I was like, yeah, we're just like 120 short. That's fine. And I was telling my husband, we were in the car, and I was just like, we have to get that money. And he's like, we're going to get the money. We can get it. We can, you know, I didn't have good credit. The bank wasn't probably going to loan it to me. But he's like, we will work it out. Someone will see like why they should give us the money. And it's just not going to be in 2 weeks. Like, it's impossible. And I was like, I know, but it just has to happen. And within just a few days, Nick was talking to his dad, and his dad was like, well, I'm about to retire. My 401k is $120,000, which I had no idea he had that kind of money in retirement. Government's a good job. But I was like, oh my gosh, is he willing to give it to us? And he was, borrow it to us. And he was. So he gave us $120,000. My parents gave us everything they had. We put in everything we had. So no big deal. If it doesn't work out, we've just impoverished our entire family. We have nowhere to go. So that was a little stressful. And then we had to wait 6 months for the product to actually come in and to sell it. And that night, we were gonna open everything on Black Friday. And we had this cart company, which if you guys have heard of Shopify, it was like the Shopify before Shopify. And Shopify was actually out then. We should have used it, we did not. But we had this cart company, and we had so many frustrations with the blog because you'd have this like viral post go crazy. It would be so cool and exciting, and you'd be making so much money and getting so many more eyes on your stuff, and then the site would crash. It was just like the most frustrating thing ever because you lose so many people and you can't, turn back time. And so we'd had that happen so many times that we were just really trying to prep this cart company. Like, we don't know that it's gonna go crazy, but just in case it does, do you have like the bandwidth or whatever you need to handle it? And they were like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, they kind of laughed at us. They thought we were so stupid. And so we were just like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. And I remember right before we released, I was just like, if we could just sell 100, we had purchased 5,000 units, which was 3 items. I was like, if we could just sell 100, then I know eventually we will sell them all and it'll be okay. So that was kind of my, Hail Mary goal. And the clock struck 12, and we crashed not just our site, but the entire database of the entire cart company, 200 stores, crashed immediately. So they couldn't handle it, as it turns out. And we're so pissed. And one thing that I do and have done every time we've ever had a release, I'm pretty sure we've never not had the site crash. I will probably be sad when we get to the point where we don't have the site crash. So I'll be like, are we still successful? But I do this thing where I just sit and refresh. I'm totally making the problem worse, but I just can't help it because I just want it to work. So I did that for 3 hours. And finally the site went up, and at 3 a.m., we still went from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning was all it took to sell out of our medium color, which is the most popular. And then within 48 hours, we sold out of everything. So it was really exciting. We were in the black before I woke up the next morning. So nobody got pour over it. And it was so exciting and amazing, but it was also really stressful because now they have given me the favor, and now are they going to like it? And before, they didn't really ever give me money. So now I had 5,000 people that were gonna try this product. Hopefully they liked it and didn't all just send it back because it's horrible. But we got almost no returns. But we did have a lot of, what was so cool about this group of people is they were so supportive of me after having kind of created that relationship online, which is the coolest thing about e-commerce, is that it's kind of like friendship on steroids. So you can really interact with such a wide group of people and really have a connection with such a wide group of people. And then you can hear the feedback from such a wide group of people, and it's just direct. So it's really cool. And what I was so blessed and lucky, because so many of these women, they didn't want to return it, but they didn't like it, but they still just wanted to be supportive and help me make a better next version. And so I got so much feedback, and it was all just really, really constructive feedback. And I was able to make the product even better. And I have till 11:30, right?
We're done at 12:30.
Oh, 12:30. I was like, did I really talk that
Sorry,
fast?
12:20.
12:20. Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry. So that was really exciting. So then I just needed to change everything about the product. No big deal. Which took a year. So I was out of product for a year. And that was really, really wild, because people were literally like sending me threatening emails, because they were like, how can you still not have it in stock? That's ridiculous. What is wrong with you? Why are you doing this wrong? But the problem is, when you don't have a high volume, and even though 5,000 units seemed like a crazy high volume to me, I remember I got on a call with a girl and I was just trying to talk them into manufacturing the product, because when you don't have a high volume, you're kind of bottom of the barrel and people don't really care about your account. You're just like, if we get to you, we get to you, but we have other things that we need to be working on. At least in makeup manufacturing. And I remember I was kind of trying to like flex on her a little bit. I was like, well, I don't know, it's not tiny. I mean, we're doing 5,000 units. We did 5,000 units in 2 days. And she's like, yeah, our good clients do 1 million units in 2 days. So you're really not impressing me at all. So I was like, okay, that's embarrassing. So we just kind of struggled through that year, worked it out, we were re-released. I just felt like I couldn't just buy the same product and release it again, even though that would have been easier. I felt like I could only sell something that I felt 100% in love with. So we re-released a year later, and then we did another year of sales. So the first year, like he said, 400,000. The second year, 1 million. The third year was 1.5 million. And that's when we were looking at getting into retail. Some of my very favorite stores were reaching out, wanting to carry our product, which was just thrilling to me. And I was really excited about it. And I started down that path, and I just felt like I would get on the phone with the buyers, and I just felt like they didn't understand the product and they weren't going to train on it properly. And I don't know, when it's your baby, it just felt like I was handing the baby to a bad babysitter, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. Even though they're an amazing store, I still love the store, I just felt like they didn't get it. And so we kind of pulled out of that deal, and I was really not sure what to do next, because it's such a demonstrative product. If you give someone 1 minute of explaining it and kind of helping them learn how to use it, then they can use it forever. But if you just grab it off a shelf, then it might not ever make that click. And so I was a huge MLM hater, like a major hater, like on Reddit, the anti-MLM, I was in that Reddit. And especially coming from Utah, where people do a lot of MLMs, I just thought so stupid. And Nick, my husband, had actually brought up doing the company like that. And I was just like, no, only losers do that. We're cool, we don't have to do that. I was really bratty about it, and I'm not even that bratty. So that's how strongly I felt about it. And then even my sister and I, my sister, the one that was always into makeup, she's always been kind of a guide for me. she and I got in a fight about it because she was like, you just need to do the Pampered Chef thing. Have you guys heard of Pampered Chef? Good. I'm not going to feel super old. The last class I talked to had never heard of it. But it's just like, do the Pampered Chef thing. We didn't even know what the name of it was. And I was like, never. And we actually got in a fight about it. So that's, like I said, how strongly I felt. But I was kind of warming to this idea of having people help each other, and the whole affiliate links was something that I used so much. And the more that I got closer to the idea of doing direct sales, the more I would just be like, okay, but we're not doing downlines. Downlines are really stupid. And then I would be like, so how do we train people? And how do we pay people to train people? And then I'd be like, is that what a downline is? Oh, so that's not just like something people do that's a joke. So everything basically that I learned, I thought, oh, well, that we could use that. But I realized there were so many things that I didn't want to do within it. And so I kind of said, well, I guess I will do it, but I only will do it this way, which was some of the things that I wanted to do is if someone bought a kit, the kit would be like a really, really amazing deal. And it would be something like, I didn't want to say, oh, here, you're a part of our company now. Here's a kit, and have them really not have any ability to do the business. Now they have to go buy a bunch of products. I just never felt like it was fair to have a company where the employees of the company are really just customers. So our company is very, very different in that way, where our artists, yes, love the product, but they're not just customers. They're actually, the customers are 90% of the revenue, and the artists just make up 10%, or yeah, 10%. So there was just a few things that I wanted to change about it. And then I was talking to a consultant about it, and I remember just saying, like, I want it to be this, I want it to be this, I don't want it to be this. And he just said, it's your company, you can do it how you want. So that was really exciting for me, because I just thought, oh, well, I guess I will. And I did. And so the first year we did 15 million in sales. The second year we did 28 million. And then this year we're looking at 40 million in sales. So that's been really exciting. And it's also just been really, really cool and exciting to see people. You know, I went from living in my mom's garage to being able to do what I love and making money doing it, and being able to help others through it, and being able to see other people kind of make that same transition through our company has been really exciting. So it's just been a really cool thing. Some of the things that I think got me from there to here, I think the biggest thing is, and it's just so cliche, but just, I don't think it was like, I've had to do pull all-nighters and do stuff like that, but I don't feel like I've had to like give up my whole life and just hustle day in, day out. I've had a lot of fun, and I have been like relaxed and still kept my priorities where they should be, but I never give up, even when I get bored, even when I get tired, even when things got really hard. When I talk to people that tell me their stories about, you know, kind of failed entrepreneur, I don't know why I can't use words today. Entrepreneurship. I always hear those stories of like something got hard and then they give up. And there's been so many times when I feel like we really could have given up and it was really hard, but we didn't. And like I say, I know that's cliche, but when I look at the big difference between where I was and where I got, it's that, and then not relying on someone else to do the work for me. There was so many times when I just wanted someone that was good at business, or wanted someone that was good at something to just come over on like a white horse and make that easy for me. And then they just never showed up. And if I would have just kept waiting, I would still be waiting. And I just had to change myself in order to get to be good at those things that I needed to be good at the time. And literally just putting one foot in front of the other and never letting anything stop me. There's so many good excuses, but every time I get to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I just need that thing before it will get easy or before I can do it, I catch myself because I know that I'm just lying to myself and that I have to just find a way to do it with what I have right now. And even when I didn't have anything, just starting the blog got me to where I'm at. So it's pretty cool. So I just wanted to show you really fast, and then we can do questions if you guys want. But a little bit of like the glamorous process of making makeup is probably not something a lot of you know much about. Is that interesting? Yeah? Okay. So these are some of my samples, and I will literally just take, and this is what I wish I would have done in the beginning, but in the beginning I just bought paint chips. I got paint chips and then sent them and was like, just make this color. And they didn't. So it didn't work. So, you know, I have some colors. This isn't my full deck. I have a ton of colors. To me, foundation is all about color. Color is everything. A lot of people focus on the texture, but to me, the less texture you have, the better, because the skin texture is the prettiest texture. Light bounces off the skin. Skin looks healthy. Guys like the look of skin. They hate when they see like a ton of makeup, right? Usually. Women like the look of just being like, I just woke up like this, right? But then a lot of people think to get flawless foundation, you just have to put like a lot of makeup on, and then you'll get that like nice smooth texture, kind of like a wall. If you think of it like a wall, and when you're painting a wall, you put in some putty, and then so you like smooth it out, and then you put, you know, a primer, and then you can put as much paint as you want. You can put it whatever color you want, and it's just going to be this nice smooth wall. And I think that's how a lot of people, and even makeup companies, approach makeup. The problem is we're not like a wall in some really fundamental ways. One being that there's 42, I think 40, 46 maybe muscles in your face, and just one laugh would be like a huge earthquake to a wall. And then you have this crackly old wall and the paint is not going to hold up. So to me, that is a huge barrier in the way of doing a lot of layers on your skin. The other thing is we have like 100,000 hairs on our face. We have 20,000 pores secreting oil. So the key is to put the least amount of makeup on possible, but to get still that flawless complexion result. So that is always my goal, and I think that is achieved through color way more than it's achieved through texture or formula. You just wanted the texture and the formula kind of not to get in your way, and to use color science to create like that flawless finished look. So that's why I'm really, really obsessed with color. And I'm really lucky because I do the makeup for our photo shoots. I take pictures at our photo shoots. I edit the photo shoots, and I create the makeup, and I work with the customers and the artists. So I feel like more so than maybe a lot of other makeup company CEOs, I have really good perspective on what's working, what isn't, what things look like, and how they can be improved. So once I make a color that I really love, or a product or formula that I really love, I'll send it to our manufacturer and then basically tell them what I did. Then they copy it so that they can mass produce it. I sign off on it, which that sounds simple, but that's usually quite a lengthy process. And we get the components, and then we release it. So that's a little bit of that process. Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
When you, excuse me, when you create a new color, do you Is it because well, do you start with the colors or do you start with the face, if that makes sense? Where do new colors come from? That's what I'm asking.
That's such a good question. So basically, they come from when like a face, like when I have a face or I'm starting to see that there's a color in a face that I'm not capturing, that doesn't have the right formula to either enhance it or cover it, then that's when I know, okay, we need to make a new color here. And then I just kind of do some experimenting, try it on a bunch of different faces, and that's kind of what guides that process. I really wonder what other companies do, because it just seems like they kind of have a linear line of colors, and I've just never found that to work very well at all. I mean, if you think of opacity, and I don't think people talk about opacity in makeup a lot, but if you're doing 100% opacity, that's really like a wall that's painting a wall. You're getting 100% of the color that you want. The sad part about that is if it's 100% opacity, it's 100% makeup that you're looking at and not skin. So what people kind of do wrong, and what we've kind of been taught our whole lives, is you find the color that you want it to be in the end and you put it on your face. To me, that's like taking a big pitcher of red liquid and you find this really beautiful purple that you want, so you pour the purple into the red liquid. Like, that would never work. You have to pour blue in order to get that purple that you want. So if you want a really low opacity, you have to use color science in order to get the right color. So like on my face, I haven't even checked my makeup, I did it in the car. So maybe it looks terrible, but I had a ton of zits and a ton of redness today, so I had to use like really muddy, ugly looking colors, but then mix them together with the red and it makes a really beautiful color. And then my skin can shine through, versus just putting on a color that I want it to end up, and then I'll just have kind of like a light pink instead of red zits. So, kind of fun to figure it out. Any other questions?
I got one. So you're talking about training people to do different jobs. Why didn't you just add like a link to one of your tutorials for each makeup that you had?
So I did, and that's what gave us the success that we did have for a long time. But we just found that makeup is like a really emotional thing for people, and it's really hard to feel confident doing makeup in a totally different way. Sorry. I was kind of saying, take everything you know, don't do it like that anymore, and do this. And it's just a huge ask, especially for women that aren't used to, like, older women who aren't used to watching a YouTube video and learning from that. If someone can not only teach you how to do it, but then say, yeah, you did it right, you look good, that will get you so much further than being like, I have no idea if I did this right, and I don't know if I had the right colors. So the color matching also is really, really helpful, because like I said before, it's like, okay, match the exact color of your skin. That's pretty simple, but we're asking people to go and get colors that don't match their skin, and that's kind of shocking, and then it makes it kind of hard for people to know what colors to get. So having people that are experts that can help has helped so much with that process. But as far as e-commerce versus the artist program is like a whole business of its own. And e-commerce was so much more simple and easy, and in some ways just less pressure, because it's just kind of like everything's up to you, everything you do, the customer cares about, but you don't have basically like this whole group of people who are making their living off of it. So it can be, pretty intense, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Just seeing the success that they're having and the fun that they're having with it is really cool. It's worth it. But I would not do it with just any company. Unless it's really, really needed with the product, I wouldn't probably go that direction. because e-commerce is just so powerful and cool and easy in this day and age. Any other questions?
How many artists do you have?
We have 15,000.
And that's across
US and Canada. Mm-hmm. Yes?
What made you want to start doing like the artist program, like having other people do it? What made you want to do that?
Just wanting to get the product in other people's hands and wanting to, wanting to go into retail kind of got that rolling. But then realizing, I realized I'd rather give my baby to these people that really loved the product and were already sharing it. Have you guys ever heard of Jamberry? They're a direct sales company, and the owner called me when I was actually looking into, Sephora had opened the door to us, and that was amazing and exciting. It felt really, it was like, I put off telling them no for like weeks, because I was like, no, I hate to say no. But he called me when I was actually thinking about doing it, and he told me about just how they run their company, and it just seemed like handing my baby to someone who cared. And the reason he called me is because his wife had kind of done an impromptu party with Maskcara makeup, and I had heard of that happening all over, just people kind of sharing it with each other, and I just felt like, well, I should pay them if they're going to, promote my company. And so it really stemmed from there, that idea. Yes.
So when you were running your blog and you said you didn't have a lot of resources, right? So how did you get your content to those people who would care about it and be interested? Like, what did you do?
That's a really good question. So just to start the blog, I actually had to borrow the $10 just to, get my GoDaddy, like the name. So I definitely didn't have any resources to advertise or anything, but I just put content out there and did YouTube videos, promoted it just within my friend group on Facebook, and Pinterest really helped a ton. That's kind of what made it go viral the first time. When Pinterest was really new, it was a lot easier. Now it's a lot more commercialized. But really, I think just consistently always putting out content. And then my content, just keeping it always just completely honest and true to like what I really felt. Yes.
You might have mentioned this. You said you went to cosmetology school.
So I didn't go to cosmetology school. Because makeup is kind of its own thing. There is like esthetician school, which is skincare, and I just didn't even really care about skincare. I just cared about makeup. And there are makeup schools, but I felt like a lot of them focus more on movie makeup and, special effects. And I just wanted to make people pretty. So, or, they are pretty. I just wanted to enhance it. So I like a really, natural, non-fussy makeup.
So would you say that like you were an influencer before like the influencer trend became popular?
Maybe. There were still it was kind of popular, and I feel like I am not a very good influencer in that regard. I feel like I do have influence, but I just hate talking about my life a lot just because, I don't know, it's not my like talent. I just want to do what I do, I guess. And so I was really happy because blogging was really hard for me. Although I loved it, just feeling like that, I guess, just like sharing about my life every day and all of that was like a lot of pressure for me, and I preferred the business element of it. So when a lot of my friends that were bloggers at the time, when I was, they have millions of followers and they're just doing crazy cool things. And I probably missed an opportunity there, but I just don't feel bad about it at all because it's just not really where my passion is. I just love what I get to do. And so, but yeah, and being an influencer is really cool. Being influential to people is really cool, but I don't know, I don't have good enough outfit posts, and I just hate being in pictures, so this was a much better like route for me. But we have so many influencers just promoting our makeup, and they do such an amazing job, and it's really cool when that's just someone's passion, and they can basically have, you know, hundreds and thousands of friends all at the same time. So, yes.
Some challenges that you've made or currently made?
Some challenges currently that we're dealing with?
Or you've made before?
Oh gosh, so many challenges. Okay, so last year we had, so I get really, really sick when I'm pregnant. I was pregnant, and then I started getting recurrent nose infections, so I had to get 2 surgeries like in the same, so this is all within like 3 months. I was really, really sick, pregnant, had 2 surgeries. Our site, we switched over to a new software, and our site basically didn't work properly for a month, which is bad when you have customers. But it's really, really bad when you have people that make their living off your website. I call it Maskcara because it was a really bad time. And then we have a 3PL, so we don't do our own shipping. We use another shipping company to do all of our shipping. And in the same period, they called and said, we just sold. You have to be out in 2 weeks. Like all of your product has to be out of our warehouse in 2 weeks. And making that transition to a new warehouse to do your shipping is a months-long process, because they make a lot of mistakes in the beginning and you really have to test everything out. And so it was a really, really difficult few months, and our revenue was harmed by it substantially, but we got through it, just gritted our teeth basically and got through it. And we like to talk about this concept of being anti-fragile, which is more than being strong. So basically, if you're fragile and something, you know, hits you, you break. And then if you're strong, if something hits you, maybe you don't break, or maybe you just crack a little. But if you're anti-fragile, if something hits you, it makes you stronger. And so we talk about that a lot, just because even in your own mindset, just knowing like, okay, something's hitting us, how can we use this to make us stronger? And rather than let it hurt us. And so I think in a way it did make us stronger. We lost a lot of employees during that time that I think were making us weaker, and then we just gained a lot of trust by the way that we handled it. And so it kind of pushed us on a better trajectory.
Are you still using other social media to promote your product other than Instagram?
Yes. Yeah, so we still use, I have an Instagram, the Maskcara Beauty has its Instagram, and then all of our artists have Instagrams. So social media is still a massive part of what we do, and a lot of our training with our artists, we do a lot of the makeup training, but then we also do a lot of training just on how to use social media and how to make it work for them. And it's been really cool just seeing how even a really, what people would consider small social media following has a ton of power. And to me, it's just so exciting. Like, you guys are living in such a really cool time, because I feel like if you have a good idea, there's just a path to getting it out there. When before, maybe you had to move to New York, maybe you had to have someone hand you a bunch of money, and now it's really made it so much more accessible to everyone.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, now how do you manage work and being a mom?
That's such a good question. So I am a mom of 5, and we have adopted, we're foster parents, so we adopted 2. That's the other thing. We went from 0 kids to 5 kids in the same amount of time since I started this company, so it's been a lot and it has been really difficult at times. But kind of same thing with the anti-fragile thing. The way I look at it is rather than saying all this time at work I'm just compromising where I can be half a good mom and half good at work, and we'll just meet in the middle and hope and pray that it's okay, is try to use what I learn at work or the time that I have to be away from my kids as a way to make our relationship stronger, and the time that I do spend with my kids as a way to make me stronger at my job and better at my job. So being a mom makes me way better at my job because I'm leading a ton of moms and I have that relatability, and it's hard so I can explain how I do it and learn how to do it better. And same with the kids, being able to show them, you know, what hard work looks like and following my dreams and giving them independence kind of feeds into it. Plus I do have like a really supportive family. My mom is a huge help, my husband, and just I have a lot of help. So that's really, really helps.